The HTC Vive is an incredible piece of technology. VR is a gateway to new worlds in a way no other medium has been so far. I love my books, my movies, my video games, but there's nothing quite like donning that weird-looking headset and stepping into a virtual world almost literally. For all the incredible experiences though, it's not part of the immediate future of gaming, even if part of me wants it to be. If you've not had the chance to try out VR, I highly recommend you find a way of trying it out. The phone versions can give you an idea of what it's like, but the higher-end versions take the experience to a whole new level. The first time I tried it out, even after the rather frustrating process of setting the system up, my jaw could have hit the floor. It might sound like exaggeration, but you have to continually remind yourself that you're not on Mars slaying demons. Even though you're not directly touching things, it feels real in a way that's hard to describe. VR also ramps up the intensity of things. Ever had an enemy rush you in a regular video game and got a little panicky because they caught you reloading? That turns into nearly falling over. Scary games, and not even that scary games, become terrifying. The scale of things is much more impressive. Having played Portal, GLaDOS never really struck me as being physically imposing so much as dangerous. Seeing her in the Portal experience for VR quickly changes that. It's downright intimidating when you come face to camera with her. Also, if you're afraid of heights, it's a good idea to avoid the common perilous edges in games and occasionally close your eyes and bless the firm ground beneath your real feet. Multiplayer in VR is a whole other level of strange awesomeness as well. The first time I tried Rec Room, I kept feeling like people potentially halfway across the world were invading my personal space. But for all the incredible experiences like seeing the Millennium Falcon practically land on your head and comparing your height to R2-D2, VR is not going to be a meaningful part of the game industry in the near future, nor will it likely play much of a role in the gaming community. The first problem with VR is the high costs associated with the technology. For the really good stuff, the equipment itself is expensive, but requires a pretty beefy computer on top of that. Even the PlayStation VR, probably the most accessible of what I'll snobbily refer to as the good VR systems, still costs an additional $400 on top of your $250 system. Not an amount the average consumer is willing to part with for something they likely won't use all that often, which brings me to my second point. VR is an innately antisocial activity, unless you're playing it at a party. So if you're using VR as much as a several $100 device demands, you're probably using it alone. Yes, we live in a society where it is pretty much socially acceptable to be on your phone while talking to somebody in person, but even the most millennial of people cringes when they see one of those pictures of crowds all wearing VR headsets. To some, it seems downright apocalyptic. Sitting on the couch and watching hours of Netflix is one thing, but strapping a screen on your face is another level of antisocial behavior. The person aggressively reading their phone in a public space no longer seems quite so antisocial when you run into me playing VR in my basement. I can say these things because I know I tend towards antisocial behavior, but society is not ready for VR to be anything more than a, that's cool, now let's move on. And even with my love of VR, that's probably for the better. I do think VR will be around for a while though. It is a small market of people who are likely to spend quite a bit of money, and there are enough developers willing to try things out right now. I'd like to think they will be supported for several more years, but it's difficult to tell when things will start to curtail. VR is seeing quite a bit of attention right now with L.A. Noire, Skyrim, and Fallout launching soon. All pretty awesome projects, but I would be surprised if this attention lasts very long. Certainly, there will be some cool stuff that comes out for a while, but I fear that the VR heyday is nearing its end already. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I know I'll continue to enjoy the incredible experience of VR no matter what. I do think augmented reality headsets, Google Glass or Microsoft HoloLens, have a chance of becoming mainstream, but it seems VR more suits the words of one of my favorite movies. I guess you guys aren't ready for that, but your kids are gonna love it.